Good tidings, all you lovely individuals. This is League Unlocked. That is Mark. My name's Eric. The weekend is behind us, which means it is a busy time to recap all of the competitive action on the Rift. There's no doubt that it's competitive. These are professional players on the Rift, Mark. Believe it or not. This is a professional scene that we have in North America. It is a major region.
The debate is whether it should be a major region or not is the fun times. But hey, the for fun region keeps those fun times rolling as we get into this week. And man, it was another week of just LCS quality games. I can't describe it anything else but the LCS.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's a similar theme each week. We talk about the ridiculousness that is the competitive level of the LCS. There's at least one, usually a handful of games where you can pinpoint the 200 years meme for Aphelios, and then there's usually a new LPL team soaring up the ranks, or just seeing what picks Dragon X pick up. So that's the theme again this week, really. And we start with TSM versus Counter Logic Gaming, who were, believe it or not, tied for second place in the LCS after a couple of weeks. And this game against TSM, listen, you match up against Cloud9, you get smashed. That's fine. That's par for the course in North America. TSM, CLG are looking good. Okay, they might have a chance. TSM's actually been playing well, so it'd be a good statement win for Counter Logic Gaming. And then they proceed to stop playing the game. They legitimately stopped playing the game. They were on sole point for a very long time. And then, okay, TSM, okay, that's fine. They steal a dragon. We'll get it back. We're still one dragon away. TSM goes on to get a Herald, 5 dragons, and 3 barons in a row from CLG without them picking up any neutral objective. Were they there? Were they playing?
Well, I wouldn't be able to tell you, because when you look at that game and you talk about giving up those objectives after that one, you're right. They did fight for that one dragon. I think it was for them to get to Soul Point. TSM wins the fight at Dragon Pit. You know, Spica gets the kick on Lee Sin, makes sure to get that smite for TSM to pick up the dragon. And that was the last time that Immortals, not Immortals, CLG, ever contested any of the objectives in this match against TSM. And the problem, when you're looking at this match as a whole, there was still another 5 or 6 objectives afterwards from that stolen dragon for TSM, taking them all without, again, any level of contention from CLG is crazy. And the very worst is when there's 2 members to 4 on the side of CLG, and CLG says we need all 4 members to clear super minions from the base, when you could just send one of Pobelter and Corky can take that all by himself and send the other 3 to fight at Elder Dragon when there's only 2 TSM members. Nope, they don't want to play those type of numbers. It was just brutal macro performance from CLG.
Have you ever heard Freak more angry on a cast than talking about CLG? And he basically created a new copy pasta with there has been no intelligently proactive plays for the last 25 minutes out of CLG. Great meme. Can't wait to use that one the rest of the season.
Hey, and Freak is a pretty big North America homer and ready to support our squads here. So when he's getting fed up doing these casts, you know that we are seeing stuff nobody wants to be seeing.
And that game, absolutely, you're speaking more about CLG question mark pings on a lot of the plays. But TSM did have a 2-0 week, and at least in their first game, they were looking pretty good. They still came back against CLG, and it's 4 wins in a row for TSM. They're not, world enders, international level play by any means, but they have been looking better as of late, more like we were expecting this roster to be.
Yeah, a lot better as of late than what we were seeing previously. And certainly rounding into the form of how they play that you would have expected a lot more given this lineup and the veteran status of players like Bjergsen, like Doublelift, and what they want to be able to do. It's something that I was heading into this matchup against CLG, and before CLG put up whatever you want to call their performance towards the end of this matchup. Yeah. But before this, I was looking at it and saying, look, I got to treat this one a little bit more seriously than I was thinking before, given where CLG is in the standings now. This is not the same performing CLG that we saw in spring. Yes, you might say that given the way that this match actually looked towards the end of it, but they haven't shown us that so far in summer. So I was expecting, if TSM come out of this, they pick up that win, keep that 2-0 week going. I'm going to give them that big boost in that confidence of feeling that they are one of these teams that can contend with a Cloud9. Still just a level short of that, I think.
I'm going to say about 5 or 6 levels below that. But Spica,
I said contending right up there. That's number 2 in North America, right? We're not taking number 1.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. Yeah. They're getting to that contender status, which is not in the same stratosphere as Cloud9. But Spica, the boy who gets criticized the most, has actually been arguably the best player for TSM so far in summer.
I think the really nice thing that a lot of people were wondering what was going to happen is, of course, after moving off from Dardoch and jungle, I guess, insecurity of that role for TSM. This is what you want to be seeing. The level of play that Spica has brought to the team, the coordination that he seems to have, at the very least, with both the top and mid of this squad, looks good for TSM. I'd like to see a little bit more develop between him and maybe Biofrost and Doublelift down in the bottom side, some of that coordination. I think, what was it, about a week ago, we saw some error around a Baron pit with the Smite and the Rend from Doublelift coming through. Things of that nature maybe can be cleaned up, but you're absolutely right. Elsewhere on the map and almost in every other aspect, Spica has been passing the test for TSM with flying colors so far.
The other squad sitting at 6-2, definitely shouldn't be 6-2. We're talking about Team Liquid, who also had a 2-0 weekend in the most unconvincing fashion. First, you have the insane base race where there's a whiff out of Insanity and Tactical is playing Felio, so he can just 1v3 single-handedly end the game. And then the next match, they get one of the worst Baron dances that you'll see out of FlyQuest. They end up getting the steal to get into it. So Team Liquid may be 2-0 this weekend, but still a lot of shakiness with this roster.
Yeah, and you're talking about that Baron dance. This was one where Team Liquid had no chance to get the Baron before FlyQuest starts to make these mistakes on their side. And it took at least two of these mistakes at the Baron, and two massive ones, to even give Team Liquid the chance. And of course, Broxa comes through with the Smite steal, given the opportunity, and Team Liquid take that 2-0 weekend. And yes, you can't be looking at this 2-0 weekend the same as any other 2-0 weekend feeling good about Team Liquid. They put together good performances. There's positives. Absolutely, there's positives in these performances, and ones that you can certainly look to group, one or two things from this one and one or two things from that one together to put together a better performance overall. But for sure, still needs some tweaking. And especially one that I saw is I'd like to see some more unique champion picks come through for Team Liquid. I think it's been very stale at only about 19 or so through the first couple of weeks, and that's the lowest that we have in the LCS.
Yeah, and I think Jensen's a guy who we haven't seen. He used to be known. He could play so many different things, but he's really stuck to the meta these days with Team Liquid, even though we're expecting more carry opportunities with Doublelift not on the roster. It's that time of the week. At this point, I think we just talk about stats for Cloud9, interesting things for speed running the LCS, another 2-0 weekend. Okay, they had a botched dive against Dignitas. Maybe that's the one negative thing you can say about them for the week, but let's just riff off some numbers from week 4. A goal differential per minute of 512. That means every minute they're getting 500 gold more ahead of the team. That is absolutely nutty to have, and their team kill death ratio for these two games was 3, which it doesn't sound like much, but it is an insane number.
Oh yeah, trust me, it doesn't sound like a lot, but in reality, that is a ton going on. I think that the best one for me is that if you're looking to replace Doing B FPX, come on over to Cloud9, and you got Niski in the mid lane right now doing his best Doing B impressions with the Twisted Fate.
He never changes that emote. It's only FPX emotes that he uses.
And they're the world champions. Why would you change it right now? And it is a world champion. It's close to a world championship level performance that Cloud9 is putting on right now. Of course, needs to be validated against the world's very best and at the world championship. But right now, I can't see anything else but that level of form.
And last split, it was all about Sven's KDA. The guy couldn't be killed. 8 games in, your boy Vulcan, by the way, rocking a 23.8 KDA as a support. And of course, through 8 games again, Cloud9 has yet to give up a Baron. Just spring all over again.
Just pure dominance from this Cloud9 roster, even when they seem to overextend themselves so many times that this would be, oh, that's where TSM is going to get turned around. That's where they throw it. That's where it's going to happen. Nah. For Cloud9, they just, two guys flash out and that's the end of the fight, and they come back to keep winning the game. It is incredible form that these guys, all 5 members of this roster, continue to have week in and week out. The consistency is off the charts, and the level of performance itself is already off the charts.
And I think a big point is the overall mental for this team. I think you can compare it to G2, where they're laughing a lot of the time, even if there's a mistake. They, like, the relationships are so good, they just make fun of them. If Blabber goes in and dies, they just laugh and, oh, Blabber at it again, ending the game.
It's a Blabber.
So I think having that mindset has only helped them, and I mean, it's pretty rare that these guys are dropping a game. I don't see it happening anytime soon. Speaking of that G2 squad, they were without Perks this week. It was Pinoy who started in the bot lane, and they had the Kog'Maw mid. The first game looked great. Caps was absolutely annihilating everybody. Unfortunately, in the XL match, they got a Felios. That's it. They got a Felios.
Yeah. There's only so much you can do. And when I say so much you can do, I don't care how far ahead you are. Every once in a while, Aphelios is going to get those 2 guns at the right time in the right spot of the map with the right items, and 200 years occurs. And that's exactly what happened to this G2 roster. There was no way to come back from that point. Just too much snowball in the favor of the XL, and give props to XL for closing it out.
Yeah, and listen, I know that the 200 years meme will take over the headlines for this game, but Patrick did play a great game. Both games this weekend, and he's quietly playing at an all-pro AD carry level so far in summer. And also the steal that he got on the Elder Dragon, or the Dragon Soul to be for G2 from his turret auto attacking.
Oh,
that's on Yankos.
Lord.
That's not Aphelios being too stupid. That's just a missmite by Yankos.
That's one of those ones where, you know, you're playing against a misfortune and the support hangs around you too close, and you're at low health and you get the double up to kill you. It's one of those type of situations where you're just like, man, I know you're not expecting it, and I know that this is a wacky one-off, but come on, you gotta have seen it.
Feels bad.
The Aphelios getting the AoE to get down that dragon. What a steal from Patrick.
And that was really what got things rolling. And then Patrick, of course, gets thrown into 5 members and just presses Q and kills them all. So G2 1-1 on the weekend. Still fine with that. Still not concerned with G2, even with their 5-4 record. Now the LEC is going to have a week off, so Perks gets some extra, I assume, much-needed time away from the competitive spirit of the scene. And I'm not concerned about G2, especially with how a full comp around Caps worked so well with the Kog'Maw in their first game. So concern's not there for G2.
I'm prepared for obviously to be, you know, a too little, too late type of panic type situation. But of course, right now, the way I'm looking at it is, of course, you have this week off. And when Perks comes back, that's when I'm going to get ready to really judge G2 and if they're going to be back into form. Of course, yes, it's just Perks' first week back. This is Perks still. And with the amount of time off, I fully expect him and the G2 roster to be ready to go when he is back in that lineup next week.
Yeah, and even though he's not playing, you can see him. He's still memeing on Twitter and bantering with Carlos and the rest of the boys. So even if he takes a week off after the break so that he has a full 3-week break, still not going to be too concerned about G2 and fitting Perks right back into that roster. For the first time in a while, the match of the week was not G2 or Fnatic. Neither of them were featured. It was Misfits versus Mad Lions, and hey, nobody looked like they could stop Mad Lions, and all of a sudden Misfits come onto the scene. Razor gets the fiddlesticks, and he's not building that tank, Mark. He's going AP and picking up the kills. Misfits looked fantastic in this game.
This is the guy that he wants to hit 2 keys on his keyboard, and he wants you dead. That's all he's trying to do as this fiddlesticks, and you know what? More than once, he was able to do that this matchup against the Mad Lions. You're right. It is impressive to take down this squad that had been on such a run themselves, the Mad Lions. That Misfits come in. They come in prepared with the draft. They get the idea right through. All 5 of their players sticking to it and knowing what's going on. Really, really impressive win from this Misfits squad. And again, this is what you want to be seeing from the LEC, because right now with G2 at 5-4, Fnatic struggling mightily, I don't know if we have one elite squad in the LEC anymore, as much as we were talking about Mad Lions last week. I don't know if we have an elite squad. I think we have 5, 6 great level teams right now in the LEC that are all just duking it out for these playoff spots.
Yeah, this was a big statement win for Misfits after they've kind of came out of the gate not living up to the expectations a lot of people had with the offseason moves, bringing in Kabe, improving from what they did in spring. So this was a huge win for them, and the Varus pick not working out again for Mad Lions. That's a familiar theme for them. But now Misfits sit at 5-4. Mad Lions drop into a tie with Rogue at 7-2. And you mentioned Fnatic struggling. Well, how badly are they struggling? How many wins does Schalke have, and how many of them did Fnatic contribute to? Well, they have 100%. 100% of Schalke's wins are now against Fnatic. Their first win of the split, and that game was weird. I mean, Fnatic just... If you took off the nameplates, you could not convince me that that was Fnatic playing.
You could say that almost for the last 2 weeks, really. And you might want to even, and if you're really going to be harsh on them, you might push it even further back than just the last 2 weeks. Look, the way that this team is performing right now is at an unacceptable level for themselves and for the Fnatic faithful. But when you think about what they can be, what this team should be delivering, how much we've talked about them, how much others have hyped them up as well, I still believe if all 5 of these players are playing at their very best, they are the best squad that an LEC can put through. But they're nowhere close to playing at even a good level of League of Legends, and let alone a good level of League of Legends. The way that they are playing all together, the communication, what is going on in game, it is nowhere to be found the synergy that you need to have to be operating at a great level in League of Legends.
It's always feels bad when you're spamming taunts and emotes. When you're the team getting absolutely bopped. You know that's total other end of the spectrum when you're styling on somebody in the Nexus, or you're reckless and your whole team's dead and you just sit there and B5 and
sad B.
spam B emotes. But there's really too much to choose from for the issues for Fnatic. Sure, Hylissang and Bwipo are leading deaths per game in the LEC. That's probably not great. You should probably pick that up. Selfmade doesn't quite seem on the same page in a lot of when to engage. He's going 1v3 in the backline on the Rek'Sai. Nemesis is just kind of losing to most of the other mid laners in the LEC. And Reckless, I mean, there's not too much to criticize. Maybe he needs to try to do more on this team, but it is a mess right now for Fnatic. And there's a legitimate chance with how many other teams have stepped up this split. It's not at all out of the realm of possibility for Rogue, Mad Lions, G2, Misfits to be the 4 teams going to World. Fnatic, you can't just turn it on like you have in years past because it is too competitive in the LEC. If you keep slumping, Worlds is a legit jeopardy for them.
Hey man, this is not the for fun retirement home of the LCS. This is the LEC where you actually got to be earning things, earning these victories, and that's exactly what this Fnatic squad needs to start doing. We've talked about it with other teams and in other regions as well, and I don't want to be a hypocrite because I love seeing these unique champion picks come through, you know, making the read on the metas and trying to find something. And look, this is not saying that, you know, someone like LS and his influence on the Fnatic roster and players has ruined it to any sort of degree. But I want to be careful and say that, yes, this might be the week to go to something completely simple. Keep it simple, stupid type of situation, because this seems to be, if you can keep it as simple as possible, I think that is your best chance to get right back into the momentum, right back into the groove that these players can get into and play as a squad.
The scary thing is they've kind of tried that with the Felios comps. I mean, it's not like Syndra is a, whoo, what a pick, a Syndra. Wow.
You're right about that.
So,
but again, I still just think that the overall ideas behind these compositions, if you can still simplify it for this week, is my best bet to getting back in action. Because I think putting in something complicated, putting in a very tough win condition type of composition, now is not the time. You are not playing in that type of form, and I don't think the communication between one member of the team to another is in that level right now.
Still holding out for Fnatic to bounce back because of the storied history, and even last year, the history that these players have playing together. I don't know if I have that faith for Origin. Another 0-2 week for them, and listen, this squad, it feels like they don't play some of these games. They're so passive, and I know that has been the criticism on them for years now. And I think we're really starting to see Nuke Duck be a liability in the mid lane.
And it's so unfortunate because for so many years and for so many splits, having him be able to, be kind of this vanilla flavor in the mid lane, but not, necessarily spoil or lose too much to any of these top level guys was one of the strengths that you had with this team. But right now it is not holding up. And as we talked about a lot of times with Origin, first week of the summer split, we saw some exciting plays. We saw some aggression. We were all happy. This is going to be the split that Origin does it. No, we haven't seen it since that first week.
Yeah, and they beat G2, and you thought, okay, pretty convincing. Okay, that was partially due to G2 not being at the level
G2.
we're accustomed to seeing. But the game against Vitality, it was just sad to see. There were almost no plays being made on the side of Origin, and it was just up to Vitality. They said, okay, great. I guess we'll win.
Perfect for Vitality, but you're right. This is an extremely disappointing setting right now. Even more so for me with Origin than it is with Fnatic, because I have a lot more faith in that Fnatic roster being able to bounce out of this slump at some point, figure it out, still use the time remaining. Origin hasn't exactly shown me that enough times in the past or even this year that I'm going to feel like they're going to be able to bounce out of it. Again, first week of summer, really excited by the aggression that we finally saw from this roster. But you're right, as the weeks have gone on here in summer, it has become increasingly clear that Origin is a step behind, and especially in the mid lane, unfortunately, Nuke Duck isn't cutting it for one of these top-level teams.
5 teams now. 5 teams sitting at 4-5 in the LEC, which is why Fnatic and Origin, you can't be in this slump for very long, because right now, based on how they've played the last few weeks, XL, Vitality, maybe even SK, I like what they've been doing on the Rift a lot more than Fnatic or Origin.
Yeah, and look, again, not North America. You're not going into the gauntlet type of situation having to take down Immortals. You're going into this one having to take down the Mad Lions type of situation. That's what you're looking at when you're talking about heading to Worlds, trying to get, yes, an extra spot for the LEC. There are more than just 4 teams that want to be going and deserve a shot to prove themselves at Worlds from the LEC. That is going to be the big fight.
Yeah, and it's tough. You see how tight the race is. Even just making playoffs, let alone who the 4 squads representing at Worlds will be. LPL, LCK action from the weekend. You had FPX versus RNG, which always, even when the rosters change, it's always a banger on the Rift. And it looked like maybe RNG might come up with what you would consider an upset now. Couple of throws happen in Game 2, and then Game 3 is very convincing in the way of FPX, and all of a sudden RNG, we were hyping them up, said, wow, they don't need Uzi. Well, now they've lost 3 series in a row and are outside of playoff contention. So FPX look good.
It happens just that fast in the LPL. One week you're feeling pretty great about yourselves, and the very next week you get slammed down. This was us putting RNG higher up in our rankings, was feeling that yes, they could come through this week and maybe turn around some big performances. We didn't get that this week, and that is obviously going to lead to a fall down in the standings. They managed to get that game 1. Game 1 was clean from RNG, but you are damn right. Game 2, a lot of mistakes leading to FPX getting that victory. And Game 3 was a clean, sweet performance from the FPX side, picking up the victory.
The tilt was very visible in Game 3. After they were in control of Game 2, looked like they would be able to close it out. Obviously wasn't going to be the case. Still Khan playing all these games for FPX, doing B things. Silas, Karma, he's always playing different stuff. A lot of Graves for TN, and LWX had some fantastic Ash arrows. But FPX now moved to 5-2. RNG sitting at 4-4 and 10-10 overall. So just 500 across the board. And that is right now 9th in those LPL standings. A team we were a little worried about for a couple stretches was JDG, the defending champions out of the LPL. Obvious slump early on, the post-mid-season cup hangover. Even though they didn't win that event, they still apparently had a hangover. But all of a sudden now, they have won 5 series in a row. And week 5 and to start week 6, it's been pretty much all playoff teams. They beat World Elite, they beat IG, and they just beat EDG this morning. So JDG looks to be back on track and legit contenders to win in China.
Hey, and those other victories were pretty solid, but definitely getting the edge over EDG was a little bit shaky this morning for the JDG side.
It looked like a stomp, and then all of a sudden you almost threw the entire game, but then you ended up winning. That's just LPL.
Right, it's the LPL having some fun times, and especially the fun times are rolling for JDG. Yes, they do struggle in this one, but pick up that victory. 5 in a row for this squad. They are turning it on now from the midseason cup hangover that we'd been talking about. This performance, yes, shaky at sometimes, but you're right. The early parts of it, this is the form that you want to be seeing from this squad and what they can deliver. Because again, I'm telling you, they are one of the reasons that you should be tuning in to watch the LPL, whether you got to stay up late or wake up early. This is a squad that proves that you need to be watching the LPL.
And for EDG, oh man, you feel bad. They have had some tough losses. Hope is back in the
What a
lineup,
year.
but I mean, the losses they've already had. They lost to IG earlier. Now they've lost to JDG, World Elite, Top. They played some competitive games against some of the best teams in the LPL. Just couldn't quite get it done, and now they're sitting at 3-5. It's a tough road for them to climb back up the playoff standings in the LPL because they're going to have to beat teams like Victory 5, who are, of course, favorites to win the entire World Championship. Now 6-2, still ahead of JDG in overall standings because they have that better game score overall. They have more wins, only trailing Top. And this team, they're legit. They took down eStar in convincing fashion. They lead the LPL in Baron percentage. That's more than Top eSports at 78.9%, and they only average 8.9 deaths as a team, which is the lowest. Anytime you're beating Top in any major categories is impressive.
This is one of my favorite things when you watch their games and you watch, when you think back of watching other, teams that have been really bad and are pulling off an upset type of situation, you can still pinpoint, okay, maybe that's you see that little play, that little mistake or thing that they didn't capitalize on. That's why they were that team in the past type of situation. When you watch Victory 5 right now in this summer split, man, there's no signs that this is the exact same team that they were rolling out for the spring. They are playing incredible, and it is really one of the best treats in the LPL right now to watch them put on these performances. And you're right, 6-2, ahead of JDG, ahead of the champs.
And I've read some stuff on Reddit and some other forums that PP God, who was on the, everyone loves him, of course, because the best name of all time, but he was on the Academy or LDL team for FPX last year, and I guess he wanted to be moved. He wanted to start. He's not going to start over Crisp. And originally it was Top who reached out and said, we want the PP God. But FPX, I don't want to give it to one of the star player to our rivals, who's a legit contender. So we'll give it to Victory 5, and he can just sit over
no
there.
problem.
All of a sudden, they're your rivals, my man.
Yeah, hey, spring split, they were like, it worked out great, man. It's bottom tier. He gets to start. No one's losing here. Now we might lose a game to the PP God. That's your worry right now in the form that Victory 5 are showing. Again, historically, maybe the worst performing team in the spring of the LPL.
Statistically,
all the way
straight up
right now to the very top of the table of the LPL. An incredible Cinderella run.
The LPL is so much fun. And I think we should just give them 6 seeds to Worlds. Just every playoff
they can take everyone but Cloud9.
Yeah,
take them all.
Every LPL team gets to go to Worlds. LCK real quick. Dragon X, another 2-0 series. They're still perfect at 6-0. The bangers were earlier in the week with Damwon versus T1 and Gen G versus T1. But listen, you look at the stats across the board in the LCK, it is Dragon X and it is Damwon dominating across. Sure, DRX looked great, but Damwon, after they took down T1 in pretty convincing fashion, this is the ceiling that we're starting to see them reach that we thought they'd get back in 2019 and did because they went to Worlds. But Damwon, huge improvements from spring so far.
This is what we wanted to see in spring from Damwon. You're right. They got the edge over my boys T1 earlier on in the week, and then the T1 squad bounces back against Gen G. And you talked about it. You have DRX at the very top of the table in the LCK. Damwon's got to be number 2 right now in the way that they play. And then you're going to have to put T1 right ahead of Gen G. And that's the question for Gen G is, you know what? Can you be better than Damwon and DRX? Can you get the edges against them? Because it's been very clear you don't have the edge against T1 by any means right now. Unless
mental boom.
Yeah, there's going to have to be a drastic change in the way that you are approaching your matches to T1, how you're preparing, what your mindset isn't, all these type of things, because it is not working in multiple instances against T1 for Gen G. So their question is, I don't think that they're ever going to get that answer over T1. And they need to find the answers over Damwon and DRX, which, hey, T1 themselves is looking for that answer. So I think everyone in the world would love to find out what you can find out if you can find out a way to top Damwon and DRX right now.
And listen, if Damwon keeps playing to the level that they are, that makes the world seeding that much crazier in the LCK. You're not getting 4 squads going, so somebody out of T1, Dragon X, Gen G, and Damwon will not be representing Korea at the World Championship, and that's going to be for a spicy gauntlet or playoff run, whatever it is. But Damwon playing at current form, I like that over Gen G.
I mean, it's going to be really exciting because it's going to be all about who do you want to be going to Worlds from the LCK. You can get the young guns alongside Deft and Dora and Chovy on DRX, but you can also say, hey, give me Damwon, give me Nagari, give me that run, but then you got to be leaving out one of either Gen G or T1. So who you taking? Are you taking BDD or are you taking Faker to Worlds with you?
Yeah, and really, the youth movement, it's Dragon X, it's still Damwon, and it's T1 too. I mean, with Kana and Elam on that roster, it's really only Gen G that there's not that much young talent. It's all kind of proven players for a couple of years. But either way, any 3 of those squads would be a good rep for the LCK. That's all the time today for League Unlock. Mark and Eric here with you guys. As always, thank you for hanging out, and we will catch you guys and gals on that flippity flow.